The number 7 is a major aspect of the book. And then there are symbols that come with that number. And the visions in the book are differing visions about the second coming of Christ. Differing visions about the second coming of Christ. And we're talking about the second coming of Christ because have hope. God is not going to let the world be in absolute chaos forever. God is not going to let you suffer forever. Have hope. Right? Have hope. I've mentioned this a number of times because it's really the most profound modern example I can use that I know of in our modern age is Archbishop Desmond Tutu was famous for this in South Africa in speaking to his people as a Christian bishop in South Africa, speaking to his Black parishioners and the whole country in apartheid. He would lift up the Bible and he would say, I've read the end of the book. I know how this turns out in the end. Have hope. We struggle for a reason, right? And don't we want to have hope? I mean, isn't this world a mess? Do we believe that there's a reason to have hope? I do. I do. So there's a reason to have hope. And this is the underlying, when all is said and done, this is the purpose of the book of Revelation. Have hope through all of the imagery that seems so confusing. That is the purpose of the book of Revelation. These cycles that we read of in the book of Revelation of the coming of Christ are kind of opened up. The story is opened up in seals, what's called seals, the opening of seals books, trumpets, and bowls. These are not images we use today, right? But those are part of the imagery in the book. The book is not chronological. This is so hard for us. Right? Who would write a book that's not chronological, right? Nobody would do that today, right? But the book is not chronological. It's a vision. This is a characteristic of an apocalyptic literary offering, right? So it's not chronological. So you can't read it and think one story is supposed to be following from the next. That's an important thing for us to think of. There happen to be 7 sections to the letter, right? Because the idea would be that the writing itself is wholeness, right? There are 7 churches that are written to. There are 7 seals. There are 7 trumpets. And there are 7 bowls, right? There are 7 lampstands. There are 7 spirits of God. There are 7 stars. There are 7 thunders. There are 7 beatitudes. There are 7 kings. There are 7 plagues. There are 7 connections to animals. There are 7 horns. There are 7 eyes. There are 7 heads. There are 7 diadems. There are a woman on a beast with 7 heads, women sitting on 7 mountains. You see where this is going, right? The symbolism is what? God seeks wholeness for us, and God is at work to bring wholeness for us in all parts of our lives. right? In the created order, in the human order, wholeness to each of us. I'd love to go into how the book of Revelation became a source of for interpretation of the second coming of Jesus that really began in the late 1800s and not before that. And it's from a specific, really individual, and then a movement from that individual that led to interpretations that you're familiar with, like the rapture and so on and so forth. But this is not this is not rocket science. You see no references to that type of interpretation before like the late 1800s. So just know that this is a very modern kind of interpretive look at the book of Revelation. It would be multiple classes for me to open that up with you today, and I'd love to do it at another point. Perhaps we can do that, but you do not see that lens of interpretation before like the late 1800s and then moving straight on into our own day.
All this pre-millennial and post-millennial, all the stuff is people who have too much time on their hands.
Okay. What are the other pieces that I think are important for us to look at today? Another aspect of apocalyptic literature is that it also stands in the same, well, in a similar space as what we call wisdom literature. There is an aspect of apocalyptic literature that echoes or supports wisdom literature, which is also replete in the scripture. And it's 10:15, but just to kind of give you a little taste of it, one might suggest, they may or may not be wrong, depending on who you like or dislike, but one might suggest that the opening of John's gospel is wisdom literature. In the beginning was the word was with God, the word was God. All things were at the beginning with him. Nothing was made without him. You see where I'm going. This kind of wisdom, and it is from this language in John that we understand Jesus to be the wisdom of God. And that is the imagery and language you will hear in our tradition in the Advent season, for example. O come, Emmanuel. O come, wisdom from on high, we say, right? So it's also connected and related to the wisdom literature. Let's just look at a couple of other things about the symbolism within Revelation, because I think it's perhaps a tangible thing we can take with us as we think about Revelation. Some here have maybe studied Revelation, some perhaps not. But let's look a little bit at the numerical symbolism within Revelation. The number 3 equals the spirit world. So whenever this numerical symbol pops up in the book of Revelation, it speaks of the spirit world. The number 4, the created order. The number 7, of course, as we've already mentioned, completion, perfection. Perhaps you prefer the word maturity, right? There are, in English, we have lots of words to describe this. You may not like the idea of perfection. I'm not perfect, and I don't ever expect to be perfect. Only Christ is perfect, so to say. But coming to some level of maturity is beautiful, you might say, right? So think of the number 7 as coming to some level of maturity. Yeah, I think that that's how the apocalyptic literature in Revelation is written. Yeah. The number 10 and its multiples equals inclusivity, right? And the number 12 and its multiples equals the people of God, right? So inclusivity, the number 10, the number 12, the people of God. So when it says in Revelation, oh, I had this marked and then I left that Bible at home.
144.
Yes, which,
Yeah, I'll find it for you later.
okay. So when it says in the book of Revelation that on the last day, there shall be 144,000. You know how much ink, emotion, and blood has been spilled trying to figure out who the 144,000 are going to be? It's in chapter 7. That's what I thought. Why is it in chapter 7? Yeah, no, he did. But who was the people who were editing it knew where to put it, right? After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, right? 4 equals the created order. Holding back the 4 winds of the earth so that no wind could blow on earth or sea or against any tree. I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun, having the seal of the living God. And he called with a loud voice to the 4 angels who have been given power to damage earth and sea, because they're at the 4 corners of the earth. So they have authority over all of the created order, right? Saying, do not damage the earth or the sea or the trees until we have marked the servants of our God with the seal on their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 out of every tribe of the people of Israel. It doesn't mean 144,000. It means everybody. All the people of God.
Well, and if you go
Are
on
included,
to verse
right?
9, if you
Yeah.
go on to verse 9, it says, after this I looked, and there was a great multitude that no one could count from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, robed in white with palm branches in their hands. They cried out in a loud voice saying, salvation belongs to our God, who is seated on the throne of the Lamb.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I mean, just as Ed said, every tribe, every language, every nation, everyone, all the people of God are included, right? So you begin to really see how you might encounter and read and find beauty within this revelation as you think of these things. Yeah, go ahead. Why is this? There's kind of an order to the symbolism of apocalyptic literature. And we'd probably go back to what was being mentioned here about where did the style of apocalyptic literature come from within history. There's some indication that in Persian cultures, this stylistic writing kind of began to develop. And we probably need to go back there to figure out what the numerical symbolism really has an origin with. Another number is 3.5. You'll see this within the, in the letter. 3.5 then becomes a way of saying, this is the amount of time it's going to take for this to run its course before God will bring this to completion. Right? So this is kind of the amount of time that this is going to take, and usually when you see that, it's like, so stand firm. Oh, what's that? Yes, half of 7, yes, that's right, that's right. Let's look a little bit, please.
I believe 666 is an interesting number.
It is an interesting number. And that is very complex, so I'm gonna leave it behind for the moment. Because it would take our whole time. Let's look a little bit at the colors within the book of Revelation and the symbolism involved there. Right? White. What does this is complex in our modern conversations. Let me just say that. But to overlay our modern conversations on biblical language is, do I want to say wrong? I'm not so sure I want to say wrong, but it's deeply, deeply complex and not really helpful, given that in Jesus's time anyway, there was not the same type of concept of white European, so on and so forth. But nevertheless, this is something for us to keep in mind in our own day as we think of this. But nevertheless, what does white symbolize? What does white symbolize? Not in Revelation. Victory. What's that? Victory, right? Now, and you have to be careful in Revelation because sometimes the bad guy is dressed in white. Right? Symbolizing that for a time, the bad guy may be seeming to win. Right? So take out of your mind, and when you read Revelation, that white means purity, as in sexual purity and all of that we think of, sin-free, right? Because that's true in Christian culture as well, right? The people who are being baptized are dressed in white after they're baptized, symbolizing they've been washed from their sins. So that is present in Christian life. So I'm not saying it's not present in Christian life. There you go. Yes. In Revelation, it's victory. Right? So white means victory. Red. Red equals war. Right? From which you blood, right? So red symbolizes war. Black, again, to overlay our modern concepts of color is difficult, but nevertheless, black equals the lack of something. The lack of something, be it food, be it famine, be it a plague or a pestilence. So that's the symbolism within. So those are some of the major colors of symbolism that you find. I don't know what green is. Do you see green somewhere?
Well, I thought that there is green. It was another color for some reason. I was wondering. And
I don't recall green. Green. Yeah. Animals. What do animals symbolize?
Somehow the power of the empire.
Nations, right?
okay.
Nations. So that when you have a beast, who's the beast? the emperor, right? The emperor who is imposing the persecution, the government, right, on the people, right? The emperor, the power. So mostly the nation. So that's an aspect of the symbolism within Revelation. Horns and heads, 7 heads, right? We believe it means like a specific individual ruler, right? And it can certainly the emperor of the empire, but then there are, you know, your other rulers, your governors, so to say, within it as well. Yeah, sure.
Material, because if I go to Revelation, and I know the book right in Revelation, by godly life and harder. If I'm not mistaken, the Bible says that God created every single fallen thing that has been, and that was before this. So when I look at it, like I think about my doctor, like, but he's a doctor and he helped write the Bible thing, and he's like, you know, I have a PhD. I heard about it, they work like all this thing. If you know, if I had it.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you're, one thing you're pointing out that I think speaks is, um, so in Revelation, the purpose of Revelation in the end is to give us hope that God will overcome the beasts, right? And, you know, and then we can very rightfully within our own spiritual life ask us these questions about whether, you know, something that might be true within our own lives or in the society in general, you know, there's, it is, I'm gonna have to end, but I think what I want us to see about apocalyptic literature is that it's highly symbolic. It can be true without being literal. And it can be true in that it speaks to something within our own world, right? There is evil going on in our world. Let's be honest, right? There is evil going on in our world. And as people of faith, we are being called upon always to be a people of hope. To be a people of hope within the trials of our own lives. And this can have, yes, as an Episcopalian, I'm saying this can have a comfort, can be a comfort and also an encouragement to my own personal spiritual life. As well as to the situations I encounter in life and the situations that might be going on in the world. Even in the face of recognizing that the revelation of John is referencing and speaking to a group of people in a specific historical setting and time. We can see, it is valid for us to reflect both how that might speak to my own spiritual life and what might be going on in my own life and what might be going on around us at the same time. Does that make sense? Well, this is just touching upon the book of Revelation. Sounds like I might need to teach the class again. And maybe we will do that. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Ed. And I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Beth.